The controversial plan to build a high-speed line between London and the Midlands is expected to be approved by the government tomorrow. Supporters say the line is essential to improve the regional economy. Critics argue that case hasn't been proved and claim the line will harm the environment and growth.
Well, ahead of that announcement, we've two reports. Kate Fisher is live in a Warwickshire village where residents are concerned about the impact on their homes, and Alison Mackenzie is in Westminster examining the political implications, with many senior Tories threatening a backlash over the decision.
Well, first let's go to Kate Fisher in the village of Burton Green near Coventry. And Kate, tell us, what is the mood there?
Well, I think many of the villagers are prepared that the plans will get the go-ahead tomorrow, but that doesn't mean they are prepared to give up their fight. They say they are not NIMBYs. They simply say the government case for HS2 is flawed. This could be an activity of the past in Burton Green if the government gives the go-ahead to HS2 tomorrow. This disused railway track will be transformed into a high-speed rail line. Joggers replaced by something a little faster. Andrew Jones's field that overlooks the line will be directly affected.
The field we're stood in at the moment will be utterly decimated by a new road going through it. In theory, in years to come, that will all disappear, apart from the fact we should have a train coming past here every couple of minutes at 250 miles an hour.
Many villagers don't know whether their properties will have to be compulsory purchase, leaving them in limbo.
We see it as totally unnecessary, and yet it's put our life on hold since it was announced in March 2010. This wasn't how we expected to be spending our retirement, in so much uncertainty.
But John says his situation is just a small part of a much bigger issue.
The main reason I come in is because, having looked into the detail of the project, I can see how bad a business case it is, how there's so little justification for it, very bad for the environment and not necessary for the country, as there are better ways of achieving the same effect.
In time, the government wants to extend the line in a Y shape through to the East Midlands, but with completion for the first section of the route to Birmingham not predicted until 2026, any plans are still some way off. Campaigners here say that if it does go ahead, their plea is that it can at least be done in the best possible way.
I think it still won't have a business case, it will still lose money, it will cost, there'll be endless subsidies, it won't transform the north, but at least we can make the best of it. So it should start from Heathrow, at least go to Heathrow. From the off, there should be some thought about linking it into the continent, not as an afterthought, but built in, so that the promises of people being able to get on a train in Birmingham and go to Paris actually materialise.
If we have a situation tomorrow where it's announced where it's going ahead, this is merely day one of second chapter. The fight really starts as from tomorrow afternoon when the announcement takes place.
Kate, that's the view of people in the West Midlands. What about those people in the East Midlands? How are they viewing tomorrow's announcement?
Well, it really is very mixed, some welcoming it, but some really concerned that it will draw investment and business away from the East Midlands, into the West Midlands. The Chief Exec of the Chamber of Commerce in Leicestershire says he would prefer the money to be spent on the electrification of the Midlands main line. That would reduce journey times between Leicester and London to just 55 minutes. He says his biggest concern, though, is the location of any potential new station in the East Midlands once that branch line has been created.
Well, I think we support the principle of high speed. However, there is great concern amongst the business community here in Leicester and Leicestershire and the East Midlands as to where the station is going to be located. That is our biggest concern. May lead to a lot of professional firms moving out of Leicester, Nottingham and Derby to a central location. That, I believe, will damage the economy of our three major cities.
Well, campaigners here in Burton Green, as I say they are prepared for tomorrow's announcement. They're expecting it in the afternoon, and many of them will be gathered to watch it together. But they say it will just mean, if they do get the go-ahead, the next stage of their fight to stop it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, for more on this, we can join our political correspondent, Alison Mackenzie, who's live in Westminster. Alison, David Cameron's got quite a job on his hands, hasn't he, convincing some MPs that this is a good decision?
Well, he certainly has, Bob, not least those Conservative MPs whose constituencies are right along the route of the proposed high-speed line. People like Daniel Biles in North Warwickshire and Andrea Leadsom in South North Hants. But of course, this line can bring, says the government, a lot of benefits. It has all party support on closing that north side divide, creating jobs, bringing a boost to the Midlands as it gets closer to London. Well, there was a hint today from Justine Greening, the Transport Secretary, of the argument she may use tomorrow when she's expected to announce the go-ahead.
I'll be announcing my decision on HS2 shortly, but what we do know is that we need to make sure that we've got the capacity on our railway network to stand our country in good stead for years to come. We've got too many people having to stand up, not enough people able to work, not enough people who feel like they've had a journey that wasn't totally crowded. So I think we do need that investment, and I'll be making my announcement in particular on HS2 very shortly.
So Alison, what are we actually going to learn tomorrow?
Well, we should hear from Justine Greening more details of how they've listened to concerns from the public. If it gets the go-ahead, will they, for example, tunnel underneath certain parts of the countryside? What will be their throw to the environmental impacts? Will they make more provisions to secure that safety? But it's a long, tortuous process. Once it's been approved, what's called a hybrid bill will be discussed, and any vote is some months, many years away. So lots more discussion, both sides of the argument.
Well, Alison, thanks very much, and we'll be bringing you more on that story during tomorrow's programme when the government announces whether the plans will go ahead.
Yes, we'll be looking at both sides of the argument and getting expert opinion. Plus, we'll also be asking for your thoughts. So you can get in touch with us on Facebook, or you can drop an email. The address is centralnews@itv.com.